Greetings from Southern Yankee Homestead. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today's project's going to be something a lot different than we've done before. I'm actually going to try to build some shelving, relatively speaking. I'm going to try to do a live edge white oak shelf for our kitchen because, well, we've run out of shelf space as far as setting up for all our canned goods. We have very limited space, so we're going to make a nice shelf on the inside. I'll show you where when it comes around to it. But to give you a quick rundown of what we got, I've got 10 of these. They're a 6.5 inch arch bracket. They're rated for 80 pounds per pair at 16-inch centers. So that should be enough to support our shelving, especially when we screw it directly into the studs. We're not going to be screwing into the drywall unless absolutely necessary. We will do it if we have to. I want to try to go to the studs. I'll show you an interesting way of finding studs too, because our house is a pain in the butt. Stud finders don't work. With that, the white oak that we're using is one of the pieces of wood I cut when we first built the track for the sawmill. They're not perfect. By far, they're not perfect. What I've done is I've invested in tools again because I want to get into more woodworking. I've never done woodworking, so this is also a disclaimer. I don't know what I'm doing. I got some tools, I did some research, I found what the good tools were or are, and we're going to see if I can make something that's at least halfway passable on that. We'll see with time. So the first tool we got is a DeWalt DW735. This is a thickness planer. I got this because, well, my boards are not uniform at all. We're going to use this to hopefully make the boards the same thickness the entire length, and to skin a little bit of weight off them as well because, well, they're heavy. They're not as heavy as when I moved them in, but they're still heavy.
Also, another note, if you notice, I got my dust collector hooked up.
If you read the manual on this thickness planer, it says that the dust collection system does not necessarily work with a shop vac dust collector system, but it will work with a dust collector system. Well, here in a second I'm going to run a board through before I run my board so that you can see that this little Bauer from Harbor Freight actually works pretty good with this blower assist that is on this thickness planer. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Maybe you will be too. Now, as far as the boards,
I have two of them here. These are white oaks. I think we're right around 10 inches at the narrow end and 13 at this wide end. There is a check in there, there's a check on that end, but overall I should have enough for what I want to do right here.
And the whiteboard that's on top, that's my straight edge I'm going to use for cutting. That's actually a piece of 1x2 PVC, solid PVC. And of course the other tools we're going to use a sawhorse, we're going to use a router, I got a palm sander, a random orbit sander now, and I got my old
Craftsman skill saw sitting here that has definitely seen much better days.
But I do not believe that my DeWalt battery-powered saw is going to be good for ripping this board. I've ripped with the battery DeWalts. This one, a 1/2-inch board, it struggles with. A 1/2-inch tulip tree board, poplar. I think I cut that at 5/4, so 1 1/4 inch board of white oak, semi-seasoned. I say semi because it's been in here for 2 months. It should be pretty dry right now, but I don't think it's 100% dry. And if you also look over my shoulder here, that's the board we're going to run through to test the dust collection system. Alright, so we have our beautiful white oak boards out here. And I have a rough measurement of the opening I'm going to do. So I have a rough measurement of our wall space that we're going to do, and it's 10 feet 8 inches approximately. I think it's like 8¼ inches approximately. I'll worry about that at a later date. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off at 11 feet. On top of that, the thickness of our 1/2 gallon mason jars is 4 inches. I don't think I'm going to go a full 4 inches because I don't want to have a 1/2 gallon mason jar sitting out on the edge. We're going to go to around probably 7 1/4 So the bracket says it's 9 by 6.5. Yeah. So this is 9, so we're going to go 9 1/4. That'll allow us to put 2 full mason jars on there. I was actually just looking at the box, and they show the bracket like this. So if it's, I guess you could hang it like this or this. We're going to go with the wider shelf. For the bracket is 9 inches, we're going to go 9 1/4. You know what? Let's feel saucy. Let's go 9 1/2. And we're just going to go to an arbitrary place in here. This is the short end. Let's see how much we're going to lose by going right here. I'm going to take a foot off it, bringing it back to here, because pulling 9 1/2 off this is where the bottom of the tree was, so it's swinging out like this. I take a foot off, that'll bring me in further. In fact, that's 15 1/4. 1 foot down, it's 13 5/8. So that brings us almost a full inch in. Alright, I'm not looking to see which way it's cupped right now. I'm looking to see which side's flatter. So this side has a lot more waves to it. So we're going to run this side up first, get this flat, and then we'll flip it over and get the other side. I ran into several issues. First off, my dust collection system is grossly inadequate for that planer. Secondly, it made one heck of a mess. But I did find a workaround that is kind of unique. To the discharge on the planer, I hitched up my leaf blower bag. So it's got this end on it here, and it pushed it around to the side, and literally I was able to continue planing without having any issues. Worked surprisingly well. So it was a little bit janky because, well, I used duct tape to hold it together. What redneck doesn't use duct tape? We're going to go ahead and see if we can make a jig so that we can recess the brackets. This is a little bit above my level, but we're going to try it. What's worse can happen? Doesn't come out the way I planned and I learned something in the process. Who knew? Alright, so what I've done is I've put 2 T-squares in there, and then I have a, I don't know, 3/8 mortising bit, 5/16 mortising bit. It's not ideal, but it's what I have.
And we're going to go ahead and hog this out and check our bracketry to make sure it works, and then we'll have to cut this out to make a template that I can set on the wood.
Woodworking's fun! It'd be great if I had a squirrel saw, but I don't. Doesn't work, what I'm doing. Alright, I've determined that I don't have the skill set necessary to do what needs to be done to make this jig. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw them down to the board. But before I do that, I need to go through and sand it. I guess I am done for the night. I'm sure it's about bedtime for the baby. It's bath time for the baby. That means it's bath time for Papa too. When Mommy bathes Eve, I bathe me so that when Mommy's done bathing baby, she can go bathe and one of us is able to watch the baby. Did that make no sense? That was probably TMI. I'll shut up now.